Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. This is Leading with Heart and Edge. I'm going to be your host today, Bonnie Bonadeo. I have a special guest with me today as well. I'll introduce her in just a second. So thanks for joining me today. I see that there's a couple more people trying to get in at this point. So, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is going to last 1 hour. I hope that we can make it interactive through the Q&A session as well. I'll open it up in the end for questions and answers. If you happen to be listening to this as a replay and you have some questions or you want some more information, you could certainly email me, bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. So thanks for being here, you guys. I have been in this industry for a very long time, and I've played many different roles in the industry, from starting out as a hairstylist, working at the chair, to now working in a salon with my husband, well, soon to be husband. He's still a fiance, but that'll happen sooner than later, I imagine. Yeah. And I love being back in the salon environment. For me, that is like the ultimate space to be able to be. In the meantime, I worked for distributors, manufacturers, or for the association to the beauty industry, a lot of different elements and a lot of different roles in this industry. And what I always discovered was that one of the things that I loved doing was being able to teach and train, but also to be able to be in a leadership position. When I started out as an entrepreneur, and this is where my friend Bobi and my mentor is coming into the picture, she was very much a support person for me when I started my own business back in 2010. She really gave me the support that I needed to jump ship from that typical opportunity of like, I get a paycheck every 2 weeks, I have great insurance, I have, 6 weeks of vacation world, to jumping into the entrepreneurial world. And I have no regrets, although I can tell you that, like any entrepreneur, that none of it is easy in the process. And I understand the many hats that we all have to be able to wear today in order to run a successful and sustainable business. So my brands obviously have altered over the course of my entrepreneurial history here, like many of us. And right now, the most important part I want you guys to know is that the SOS brand is the one that seems to be sticking the greatest for me as an entrepreneur. And I really love the coaching and training part of being able to do that. I just launched the SOS Leadership Academy. I've had an SOS Small Business Success podcast going on. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, all those things. I work with people to be able to do the following things. Here's what I say that I do. I am speaker, coach, author, and podcaster. And I do that through helping people with communications, in leadership, in speaking, and in branding. But what I really do is I help you connect with you so that you can better connect with other people. Now, my guest today is Bobi Seredich, and I called her my mentor. I call her my friend, but she's one of the most phenomenal people that I've had the opportunity to work alongside with, work for, in many different capacities. And she's really got something very special that she's put together. And she's offered me the opportunity to bring it to our industry, customize it, and bring it to the salon industry. I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you today. But we've got a lot of heart and edge we got to talk about here. So I'm going to send it over to Bobi. She's going to share a little bit about herself so that you can love her as much as I love her. And then we'll get started on the actual webinar.
Bonnie, thank you for that warm, and I feel the love from you. But I've known Bonnie, gosh, we're going back to PBA days. So we go way back. And I'm Bobi Seredich. I'm the founder of the Southwest Institute for Emotional Intelligence. And when I met Bonnie, I had a speakers agency at the time and training company, and we weren't as focused on EI, but we've evolved there because for me, and just like what Bonnie has said, emotional intelligence, or EI or EQ, is it is the foundation of all great leaders, and it impacts you personally as well as professionally. And I've seen that happen over and over again. And like Bonnie, I've been part of speaking. I do training on emotional intelligence. I love to certify and train trainers on this topic and this content. I'm an author as well. But emotional intelligence is really the X factor that takes a good leader and makes them a great leader. And this impacts every business. I think if you're in the salon industry, kudos to Bonnie for bringing this content into the salon industry, which I feel like it is an intimate industry. I mean, your customers and your clients sit down in your chair and they are connected. They want to be connected to you and you're actually touching them. And I don't see that in a lot of the businesses I work with. I mean, we're a B2B type of business. So we work with a lot of corporations. We work with non-for-profits too, and a couple of cities and associations out there. But the fact that you have this ability to actually touch people is a huge life difference. It's a huge impact on so many people. So I think learning these skills of EI, applying them in how you show up as a leader and becoming more self-aware is the game changer. It really does change things for everyone. And as far as our company, we've grown a lot. We became a certified women-owned business in October of last year. So we're super excited about that. That continues our entrepreneur journey of women and diversity-owned businesses supporting each other. We wholeheartedly believe in that. And it's been a great learning track. So it's been able to expand our business as well, especially in the space of other corporations who want to do business with minority-owned businesses out there. And we've also developed this online platform that Bonnie and I are here to share this with you. We've been doing it now for a few years. Last year, we invested in a new learning management system, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, but it has taken off. So we have all types of leaders going through our online training program, and it makes a difference. It really gives you a chance to learn the content and apply it in your business or even in your personal lives, and then come back to it, learn a little bit more and apply it. So for me, our online training program, and you also get the coaching from Bonnie, the one-on-one coaching. It really is a great leadership coaching journey for you. It just gives you a chance to reflect and learn and apply. So I think for me, those are the important things about why we look at emotional intelligence. But Bonnie, I'll give it back to you so you can share some of the things that you know about this content and topic.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I appreciate you sharing all of that. And it's the great thing about learning leadership is that we can learn leadership in multiple platforms and in different ways. Where I think a lot of times in our industry, learning certain skill sets require us to be in person and hands-on to really get that feeling of skill. But leadership is one that you can learn in different capacities. So let's talk about, what does leading with heart and edge even mean? And why is it important? And one of the studies that I read up on that was in Inc. magazine not that long ago was that 70% of leaders are scared to talk to their employees. That's actually what they said. 70% are scared to talk to their employees. And so if you know, in a broad scope like this, if this is kind of the percentage that we're looking at, then I know for a fact that emotional intelligence is the answer and the game changer for you to feel more confident in having these type of conversations, dialogues, good, bad, indifferent, with your employees. So let's look at then this piece right here of, you know, what do you guys think makes a great leader? So this is where you can go into the Q&A part here for me. Just pop it in there. What do you think makes a great leader? Let's hear what you think before we start sharing some of the great assets and opportunities of what a great emotional intelligent leader is. So, and I'm going to keep going while you guys are typing away in there. A good listener. Perfect. Thanks. I appreciate that, Kenneth. Good listener is definitely one of the top ones for sure. Yeah. Now, here's some statistics that I pulled up recently here. So, when we're talking about heart and edge, I want you to think about it as also being liked and effective. Okay. So, we have to be able to kind of lead with a heart. All right. But we still, the edge part is that we still want to be effective. And if we understand that 70% of leaders fear talking, directing, and or managing their employees, then what's happening is that we're kind of like, we just want to be liked and we're too much heart. And maybe we're not putting the edge in there. And then some other statistics from our industry is that 90% of the salon industry workforce are women. And so I know that that plays a role in sometimes the ability to want to be friends, want to be liked by other women as well. And then we have a tendency to maybe fear the edge. Yeah. Donna says listening, integrity, being responsive, perfect answers. That was great, Donna. Thank you. You know, the average of employees in our industry is 1.3 per salon in the US. Now, I had to do further research on that because after I looked at it, I'm like, wait, that can't be right. But if we look at the way that our industry has changed and the landscape of it with independent people and suites, then that's not necessarily untrue, right? 1.3. So if we look at, there's a large majority of independents in our industry. We probably don't have as many bigger salons today as we had in the past. So what we really have, that's probably the bulk in the center, are salons that are 4, 5, maybe 6 employee-based environments. And so if you look at 4, 5, and 6, I want you to think about if you fear having a difficult conversation with one of your people, one of your team members, and it doesn't go well, then and you have a 4-person salon, 25% of your business just potentially could leave you. So we fear having these conversations. So we don't have these conversations because we don't want people to leave us. And we understand that currently in our industry, looking for quality people is very overwhelming. And getting them to stay with us is even a harder job because they're saying that stylists are lasting 2.8 years. Now, I think that's a combined statistic that is looking at how long people are staying in the industry. So once they get licensed, go into the industry, 2.8 years, but also from salon to salon. So they're staying with you for 2.8 years before they're going off on their own or going somewhere else. Obviously, that number has been impacted as well with the pandemic, just because people were moving and shifting and trying to find this heartfelt space that they wanted to be in after we all went through what we did at the pandemic. And Bobi's gonna share some really interesting information that's coming off now that the pandemic is kind of done, where we're sitting at this point in time. Now, we talk culture a lot of times, but the truth is, you guys, it's effective leadership. We could say, oh, you have to have a good culture in order to have a sustainable salon. Okay, a good culture, and underneath that is leadership. So you have to be able to make sure that you are in that space of being able to lead in order for a good culture to exist. And so effective leadership with heart and edge is going to create that successful and sustainable salon. Yeah. All right. I love it. John Davenport, I appreciate your comment. I think a good leader is a well-respected person who can handle situations professionally and has a way to understand people. Awesome. Perfect. So Bobi, you tell me what you think the definition of heart and edge is here from a leadership perspective.
Yes, Bonnie. And I just want to add to what you said, because this is what we know. We know from the research that when you don't approach a difficult conversation, especially with a peer or a team member, you end up spending more time in your head thinking about what I coulda, shoulda, woulda. And so the energy and time spent on not approaching effectively is way more than if you approach, even if it doesn't work the first time, that you take a step back and then you re-engage to approach better or more effectively the second time. So
Mhm.
avoiding is, we have a whole learning module on approach avoid and what it does to you. And actually, when you do learn to approach effectively, like these tools we're teaching here, it actually increases your happy hormones. So I just saw Inside Out 2 yesterday at the movie. I encourage you
I
all
love
to
that
see
movie.
it, but it is an EI movie, for kids and adults, of course. But this balance of heart and edge, this came from a study that was with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And when they wanted to look at what were the top competencies of effective leaders that kept getting promoted within their organization. And out of that research came this balance, that it was these top 6 competencies that were what the top 10 performers were most promoted. So it's this healthy balance of a heart of empathy, humility, you listen without bias, you build connections with other people, and then this edge of accountability. I set high expectations, I hold myself and others to account, I stand with conviction. So I hold myself is the key, and then I hold others. And here's what I want you to remember as a leader, and maybe you can put this in the Q&A chat. Do you think naturally, do you approach more with a heart or an edge? Do you have more of a heart or an edge?
Good question. Good question. I will respond to that one.
Oh, wait, and go back one to the other side real quick. Let me finish here because I think this is really important for people to hear. And if you don't know if you approach more with a heart or edge, ask someone you work with or ask a friend or a family member. They're usually really quick to tell you, oh, you are all heart, or you definitely have an edge to you. And I just want you to remember that when you have too much heart, people tend to take advantage of you. So your need to be liked when you have too much heart gets in your way of your need to be effective. And then when you have too much edge, people fear you. So they're sometimes not bought in fully, or they just do what you want short term, but not really long term. And they're afraid of you. And when you have a lot of edge, your need to be right gets in the way of your need to be liked. So EI is this balance of heart and edge. And I think sometimes people get confused because they think emotional intelligence is all about heart of empathy, but really it's this balance of heart of empathy and edge of accountability. So
Yeah,
you can
I
go
love
ahead.
uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Bobby. They have let's see. So we have some edges, attempting to incorporate more heart, a little of both, but I would say more edge. Yeah, I agree. I was probably much more edge once I've kind of really understood emotional intelligence and were able to apply the tools. I definitely have heart, and then it's just constantly looking at where that balance needs to play in there. So yeah.
That's great. And let me just share with you these next 2 slides. I love Heather McGowan's work. She's a futurist in the workplace. If you want to pick up her book or download the audio, The Adaptation Advantage. And she also has some great videos out there. But one of the things that she brought up in her book, which I think is really relevant, is just the pace of change that's happening. The digital transformation. If you look at this line here, when the pandemic hit in 2020, it just was an accelerator. So what was happening, according to McKinsey, in digital transformation, 5 years of progress we did in 60 days. And I think we all remember how we weren't even in this format at the time, or we were new to Zoom or whatever whatever format we were meeting virtually, but half the people didn't know how to use it, turn on their cameras. We didn't even know how to share any types of presentations. we didn't know how to do so many things that we're doing. And now I don't think we're ever going to go back. I mean, there are things that COVID changed long term. And then the same thing with the migration to the cloud. This is according to Accenture's research that at that time before COVID, they thought the last 80% of the full migration to the cloud would take over a decade. Now it's happening within these 5 years. It's twice as fast. And I think we all know and feel that. And even the pace of business this year, every client of mine, I think since January 1, we've been hitting the ground running and we're trying to keep up. And that's across the board in every industry. And I know, Bonnie, you can speak to the salon industry more than I can. And all of you have that expertise. But I think there's a bit of, hey, we're in June. Do we slow down a little, but is it going to be the same pace third and fourth quarter? I mean, how do we manage all of this coming at us? And that is where Heather McGowan's work really is relevant because she says the pace of business is not going to change. So it's like buckle up and get ready and give yourself some good tools and be self-aware so that you can sustain long term. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And
Mhm.
then when you go to looking at the importance of hiring the right people for your organizations, for your small businesses, or for your larger companies, wherever you sit in this, we cannot look at hiring people at the tip of the iceberg with the skills that they do. We have to go beneath the iceberg and really look at number one, what's their identity? How resilient are they? How adaptive? Because I can tell you this, I don't know where your industry will be in 2 or 5 years. But if you hire someone just to be great at their job with the technical skills they need to be great at their job today or the next week, they may be irrelevant in 2 years. And so they need to be resilient, to be able to adapt. They need to understand their purpose, their core values, what makes them want to be in this industry or this business. And they have to have an agile learning mindset. They have to be open to the market changes, not dug in. They have to be open to constantly learning, which Bonnie is offering you a great opportunity. And I think that's where I see such a difference in my industry is just people opening to wanting to know, how can I be more self-aware and how can I have some great leadership tools? I don't need to reinvent this stuff, but that will help me to be sustainable. And then Heather McGowan talks about enablers. Sometimes that's a negative term, but what she means is we're uniquely human right now, and we have empathy. We have the ability to connect with other humans, and AI has not copied that, not yet, but they are trying.
Yes.
So it's what makes us unique to be able to motivate, inspire, move people, coach, mentor, all these things. Those are human skill sets, and we need to own those and continue to build them. And so when you're looking at hiring people, just remember, yes, it's important that they have the technical skills, but look beneath the iceberg to make sure they have these other skills to make them long-term successful within your organization. And emotional intelligence is really how you show up, how you handle yourself, especially when there's pressure, stress, and anxiety. That's when we really can tell where someone's core strength or their ability to be resilient is. And I think we all saw that during COVID. I mean, that was just like I can't even imagine another time in history for us. I mean, I think in more recent history, where there wasn't a spotlight on how resilient are you? Can you make it through this? This is pretty tough stuff. And not knowing where we are going to be next month, or not even understanding how to interact or how to bring people back to your salons. I can't even imagine that feeling. Same in our industry. It was very tough. We had to pivot and change and be better. But EI is the true impact you have on others because you judge yourselves. We judge ourselves based on our good intentions, but other people judge us on our actions, our impact. So we have to remember to love human beings, not human doings. And I'll pass it back. I can go on and on, Bonnie, about this topic, but I want to hear from you, your perspective too on
Yeah,
EI.
I mean, obviously, the emotional intelligence, it can be learned. So the skills, the tools that you get under this umbrella can be learned so that we can be more effective, because it may not be a natural way for us to communicate or respond in situations. And if you look at even at this level of us being full on adults midway through our lives, there's still that experience that we had as a younger individual of how we learned to communicate, how we learned to speak, how we learned to learn. And that still has that DNA is still kind of established in us as we're getting older. The good news is this can be learned. And I love that statement. So I'm going to say it one more time. We judge ourselves on our intentions, but other people judge us on our actions. So as a leader, that's a self-awareness piece right there for you to be able to say, how am I being judged as a leader? Because my intentions being communicated in a way that people understand why our organization exists, what values that are our foundation, and do they see me in that space of being that person? Or is it a contradiction of what's happening? And then they're judging me on my actions or my lack thereof in the actions with that. So Bobi did kind of like share with you guys just ever so gently that we do have some opportunities today. So I just want to let you know I will be sharing some offers with you, because here's how I feel about it. If I don't let you know that these things exist for you to be a better leader, you won't know where to find them, or you may not be able to find the one that I think is best suited or fit for you that we've created for this industry. And leadership for us in our industry is a little different than in that corporate world. And so for those of you that might be in a corporate space, you understand that. You understand that on there. So I'll share the offers with you a little bit. But Bobi, will you talk about then kind of like what is this EI model that we just need to kind of like have some starting point with with some learning?
Yeah, this model, these are the competencies that make up emotional intelligence, and they fall under self-awareness, emotional management, and then your emotional connections to other people, which bring you to your personal leadership. And so under self-awareness, there's your optimism, your self-regard or your self-esteem, your own ability to self-assess, and then your emotional self-awareness. So your ability to know in self-assessment is your strengths and your challenges, and are you real with those? And then your emotional self-awareness is one that I struggle with, and impulse control. It's more about holding back when you want to respond or you want to say something, or even as leaders, and the more seasoned you become, you want to solve a problem. Someone brings you a challenge and your response is, oh, I have the answer to this. But that's an opportunity to coach someone. So that takes longer short term, but long term, that person won't keep bringing you that same problem. So emotional self-awareness shows up in different ways. Emotional management is your adaptability, flexibility, which we've talked about how important that is, your impulse control, your personal drive. I think a lot of you, if you're here, you have a strong personal drive, your authenticity. How real are you with those strengths and challenges? And then your emotional connections with other people are coaching, your communication, your empathy, your connection to get to that other side of the bridge. Now, this is a pyramid, but it starts with some foundational skills of self-awareness, but it doesn't mean that you could be really strong in skills of empathy and have a challenge with emotional self-awareness. And so we just look at this with when I present this competency model, I always ask people to self-reflect. And I think Bonnie's going to ask that, like, what authentically is a strength for you and what is a challenge. And then in different industries, there are different strengths that are needed more than in others. So think about it that way too. Like we've done some work with the US Navy, and adaptability, flexibility is a top strength. That's a top core competency for an effective leader
Mhm.
because it actually could be fatal if they're not adaptable and flexible. So there are different strengths at different times and different industries that are needed.
Bobby invited me to a program. So this was 15 years ago, 20, I don't know, a while ago. It was a while ago. But she invited me to this program and she's like, it's just a morning thing. Just come check it out. And it was based on emotional intelligence. And I remembered sitting in that room and thinking that this person was talking specifically to me. Now, at that time in my life, we were going through our recession. I had just transitioned out of a corporate position to an entrepreneur. And in the process of that, not only did I kind of like, not have all the skill sets available to me to build my business at that time, and none of the technology, like half the technology that we have today wasn't available to me either. So it was a lot of work. But I also was up against, the housing market. My house had devalued. I had condominiums that I had renters in that were leaving. I mean, I was overwhelmed at this point in my life. I show up to this program that Bobby introduced me to, and I knew right then and there I had to take it further. And that was when I went through the certification course to be able to be a coach and a trainer in emotional intelligence. And I can tell you guys honestly, this knowledge changed my life for the better because when she talked about like personal drive, I was very driven. I mean, I would have went into an entrepreneurial experience if I didn't have that personal drive. What I didn't have was, a lot of empathy or a lot of effective communication to be able to make this work for me. And these are all the skills that I learned in there. So I was very grateful for that. And so we have to ask ourselves, what's missing here? What's missing that we're in this space of having to manage other people? And in our industry, Bobby, it's really interesting because it's almost like everybody, even in an employee-based environment of a salon, it's like everybody is their own little island of being an entrepreneur. They're managing their clientele, they're managing their day, they're managing the services that they're doing. So it makes it difficult for us as leaders to sometimes be responsive or timely in what we need to do. And so one of the things that I always say is missing is that connection to self and others. Like, are we truly connected to what's going on with people? Are we truly aware of what's happening in our environments, within our businesses, to be able to support people for the short and long-term goals that they're trying to assess? And then I'll let you dive into this a little bit more. I know it was kind of like the pyramid in a different format here.
Yeah, this just gives you a chance to really look at the different areas of the competency model. And I really think when we added here relational leadership, that's kind of the top of the pyramid of what an EI leader really looks like. They share accomplishments, they leave their ego at the door, they're inclusive, they empower others. Um, but I think the next slide where we really go into, we want to hear from you. What do you think your strengths and challenges are? So you
Yeah.
go ahead, Bonnie, and share yours.
For sure. And then you guys pop into the Q&A and let us know where you feel like that you're strong. One of the opportunities in the program that I'm going to share with you is a 360 report, which really kind of provides you that guidance of who am I now? Where am I at? And what areas do I need to learn? So when I got back my 360 report, it showed that I was like 98% driven. But then as I kind of flipped through the pages, it kind of went down even a little bit further to where I didn't have the good empathy skills. I didn't have good listening skills. And those were the areas of opportunities that I needed to learn. Impulse control, forget it, out the window for me. So I'm going to take you guys. So I circled these three here because I want to take you guys on a little bit of a deeper dive and then apply our industry to these particular pieces. So emotional self-awareness, impulse control, and empathy. Let's start with emotional self-awareness. Who am I being, and what experiences are impacting my communications? Okay. So as I kind of shared what the way that we grow up and learning to communicate is kind of based on how our community was, our family, our environment, our ethnicity, like all of that has a factor in how we're able to communicate. Then all of a sudden we grow up and we become adults and we open up a business, and then all these people flood in and we have multi-generations in a workforce now. And we sometimes don't know how to communicate effectively with them as a unit, as a team, and or even individually. Now, I know there's a lot of information out there with people talking about being able to communicate through different generations, but I can tell you that the emotional intelligent approach, it doesn't matter what generation they're from. It doesn't matter whether they're young, Gen X, Gen Z, or a boomer, that the effective communication lands with a human being, not necessarily. Now, are there some variances? Are there some differences? Yes. And those things that you have to take into consideration because it's going to be based on their experience. So emotional self-awareness, really staying calm under pressure, knowing how emotions impact behavior, recognizing your behavior and on others, balancing intuition with reason, and then viewing other opinions openly. Bobi said it earlier where she's like, we always want to, people bring problems to us, and then we think as leaders that we need to solve the problems. But I say that as leaders, we have the questions, not the answers. And that really allows us to be in that empathetic, adaptable, flexible coaching space with our team. And a lot of times people think, well, that's just going to take too long. I just need to tell them what they need to do or tell them to stop doing what I don't want them to be doing anymore. And then how that leaves or how that lands with other people is not very effective. And then that is a self-awareness piece that we have to be able to recognize, that just telling them what we want them to do and not creating it as a dialogue creates a different scenario. So lack of awareness to see patterns that impact your culture. Okay, what are you doing as a leader that is impacting the culture? Sometimes it's ignoring or avoiding certain situations that are happening. So for example, these are a lot of the situations that come up in my trainings. I have a stylist that's always late. Or I have a stylist that this is the expression we use in our salon, is look like they just crawled out of a hamper, and they don't look professional. And so then we sometimes revert easily back to policy with these things. Okay. If we do have the conversation, we revert to policy. According to the handbook, the dress code is as follows, or you're outside of the dress code today, type thing. And then that it doesn't land well with people. It's not a dialogue because we don't know sometimes why. What is behind maybe why they're constantly late? What is behind why they showed up looking like a little disheveled today? And if we can just stay in that space a little bit longer, we might learn something about that person and have a better impact. We fear change because of previous experiences. We don't want to rock the boat sometimes. We want to be liked, too much heart over being effective, or we're too edgy and we just want to get to the point and tell people what we want or need or expect from them. Sometimes in our business, we hit that friend zone. We want to make sure that we're liked, so we kind of stay in that friend zone with our team. And then when we have to be the leader, it makes it more difficult. We have a tendency to take things personally. And of course, we avoid the hard stuff. And one thing I want to say on the taking it personally, when we're talking about emotional intelligence, because emotion is always at play, things do feel personal to us. But then the difference is, how are you managing that emotion when you take things personally versus just kind of like falling into that space of they don't like me or I don't like them type of space in there. Anything you want to share here, Bobi?
Well, I think it would just be nice to hear from the group. If you go back to the competency model, what do you think your strength is? If you want to put that in the Q&A, what's a competency? I know, Bonnie, you did a great job of sharing, just going through a couple of them, but it would be nice to hear
I'll go
what do
back to
you
that
think?
slide here.
Yeah.
So here's all the competencies. So you guys
What do
pop
you
where you feel like you have you have some strengths, or where you feel the need that you have to work on it, whatever yeah, put it in there.
Let's start with strengths and then.
Perfect. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So I'm going to go, while you guys are popping that into the Q&A, I'm going to go into number 2, impulse control. Now, I've already shared with you that this is the one that I am challenged by. I'm a fighter. So, we have to look at this awareness and management of what happens when things don't feel comfortable for us. We go into a fear response and it's fight, flight, or freeze. And I am a fighter. I'm a fighter till the day is long. Now I have also discovered that fighting doesn't serve me well or others at times. And so I have learned to give myself space and or freeze in situations to be able to evaluate it or determine, does this really need to be dealt with in this moment? Is it going to make a difference in the next hour, in the next, 7 hours, day, that type of thing? And then I can, really provide that space for me so I'm less reactive. But impulse control is, rarely acting impulsively. Now, put me behind the wheel in a car driving here in Atlanta, forget it. Impulse control goes out the window. Of course, I kind of have to keep it to myself. So I don't put myself in danger. Impulse control is keeping promises, maintaining a sense of humor under stress, managing emotions, especially anger. And then, of course, there's the dark side to anger. I know we all know a few people that maybe anger isn't that emotion that shows up for them, but something else does, and it's kind of falls into this space of manipulation. They might hold something against you or be sarcastic. Their demeanor changes with something and you're kind of left with, wait, what did I do? What did I do? And it might linger on. So even though anger may not be the emotion that is present or recognizable, I want you to think about also, are you in a space where manipulation is how you're leading through things in there? All right, let's see. So Donna says adaptable and accountable are her strengths. Yeah.
Those are great strengths. And I also want to add to impulse control, Bonnie. I have a quick little story. I was coaching a group of leaders. It's actually a developer here in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And the COO of this company said to me, I have had trouble with impulse control. And he says he was an attorney by trade, but has moved on to be a leader in an organization. But the other thing he struggled with was road rage. So he has struggled with this for a long time. And he said, I know you told me that I need to practice some type of mindfulness and meditation. And he said, I never listened. And then he went to a therapist, and he's been married 4 times. So he said, okay, my 4th marriage, I need to make this one stick. And they kept telling me I need to practice this meditation and mindfulness to control my impulses. And he finally did. And it's so funny. Every time I see him, he goes, I got rid of the road rage. I mean, I don't have it anymore. So I think for me too, I've had to be mindful when I'm traveling a lot for work. If I don't ground myself in some way, I need to listen instead of TV and the news at night. I need to listen to something that is calming for me before I go to sleep or when I wake up. So I'm not in a kind of a hectic pace where I lack impulse control. So that's just a little side note.
You have to know your triggers. So here's a story of kind of like the anger kind of disguised as manipulation is. So that my one of my accounts, coaching accounts, it was like they had a front desk issue where everybody was calling in sick at the front desk or wanting to take time off. And and so instead of kind of like figuring out how to be able to manage that, she just put out a blanket policy that nobody can take time off in the month of whatever. And so it was like, so everybody was penalized, even though it wasn't everybody that was in there. So that's kind of like that form of manipulation that shows up in leadership that doesn't land well with a lot of people. And then they question it, and then they feel like you're taking away, what they don't see is adaptability and flexibility. What they see is that you're reacting to a situation and you're trying to make it better for yourself, but maybe you don't have enough information as to why something is happening to begin with in there. So yeah, frustration, stress, overwhelm, inability to manage your emotions and manage time. I know for me, if I can't manage my time well, I can get easily frustrated and overwhelmed. So I'm really good about making sure that I'm managing my time, because I know that's a trigger for me. If I don't give myself enough time to work on projects, if I don't give myself enough time to finish things, get to destinations that I need to get to, I then become stressed, overwhelmed, and then my impulse control goes out the window. So for your people that show up late all the time, and they walk in and they're late and you immediately have a conversation with them, they're probably already triggered and in a very reactive mode because they're aware they're late. So starting those conversations has a very different feel to it when you apply emotional intelligence and empathy, which is what we're going to talk about next. Reactive versus rational here. So I say that heart and edge is this. Heart is having connection with somebody, right? And edge is being able to look at what direction are we going in. If they need support, they might be going in the wrong direction, and I gotta redirect them in a way that makes sense to them to be able to have that edge of being effective with them. So empathy is, I think it's missing in society just in general, okay? So if we can bring it back as human beings, bring it into our business, bring it into our family, our friends, our community, our world, I think we're going to be much better at being, liked and effective in all areas of this. So not being judgmental, being aware of moods and feelings, perspectives, being a good listener, utilizing intuition and responding appropriately to others. I love that one, because sometimes I think that we stop using our intuition. We stop feeling what might be the right thing to do, and we just immediately kind of go to policy and procedure as the right thing to do. And I think for empathy, what's absolutely missing is acknowledging other people. I see this a lot with the salon forums, Bobi, that people will show on these salon forums the conversation that they're having with a client, and they'll literally put up the text messaging thread as a photo on there, and they're like, I don't know how to deal with this client, I just want to fire him. Here's the dialogue, what should I do? And I can tell you, I don't even have to read past what the client says. The first thing I see that happens 99% of the time is that the stylist or the owner lacked acknowledgement and empathy in that initial response. So if somebody called up and said something like this, they said, oh, I loved my hair when I left, but it looks like it's faded quite a bit. I can send you a picture if you want. And then the stylist responds immediately with, well, reds fade faster because it's a bigger molecule. And it's like, there's no acknowledgement in that. So, we have to be able to build space of empathy and acknowledgement. Thanks for reaching out. I'm so sorry that you're having trouble with your hair. Tell me more. And that's creating that level of curiosity and being able to bring it in there. So listen to hear, not respond. You guys, emotional connection first and social connection. Be human with these people on here. Yeah, be human. Yeah. Donna also said her weakness was impulse control, sarcasm, and having to think through things and that. So thanks for sharing that part, Donna, here. Okay, guys, so what does it take to be a great leader? Well, we have to be somewhat fearless, because sometimes leadership is not a book that's going to give us all the answers of okay, if this happens, do this. So you're in the moment a lot of times when a leadership piece shows up. So there is learning that you could do, but there's also practice that needs to happen. The program that I'm going to share with you is kind of has this on live and AI coaching capabilities to be able to support you with that. It's called the Ultimate Leaders Program, and I promise you it's going to give you the ultimate salon success that you're looking for if you feel like you're struggling in areas of your business, whether it's getting operations underground, being able to market your business effectively, being able to lead your team, being able to hire new people, being able to look for new clients. Like all of those have a leadership element to it to be able to help you to be able to grow your business. So here's the two offers that I want to share with you. But before I do, Bobby, was there anything else that you wanted to add in here?
No, we're good. I think we're good. You're covering everything.
Okay, perfect. So this, you guys, is it's a free opportunity. So we're just going to be doing a leadership challenge. It's July 8th through the 12th. It's a 30-minute segment each day that we're going to bring one of these leadership elements, one of these competencies to life. And the idea is that you're going to be able to find an opportunity to be able to use it that day. Okay. So if we bring, say, impulse control as one of the topics that we're going to do, I want you to find an area of opportunity where, whether it's road rage, doesn't have to be necessarily in your business, whether it's driving, is find an opportunity where you become aware that that competency is there, and then being able to look at ways that you can manage it better moving forward. So we're going to do 5 things, 5 days. They're little 30-minute sessions that you're going to show up to. They will be recorded if you wanted to listen to them later. They'll be at 12 noon each day. And of course, this is a free opportunity. Here's the QR code to be able to sign up for that. I'm going to be sending you an email as well after this webinar with these links. So don't worry if you don't get it right now at this point in time. But I'd love for you guys to join me in that so we could take these competencies to the next level. All right. And then here's the Ultimate Leaders course. So this is presented by SOS Leadership Academy, but it's powered by my friend Bobby's organization, Southwest Institute of Emotional Intelligence. And again, what she's given me the opportunity to do is to take this program that she's putting out there in a global, worldly, very and somewhat corporate approach. And I'm able to kind of like customize it to the salon industry a little bit more so that we can be able to share with how to be able to lead more effectively utilizing emotional intelligence. And this is a 12-week on live training and coaching program that's being offered here. It opens up on August 5th. It's a certification in EI. And I can tell you guys, I'm certified in a lot of coaching methodologies. This is the one that is my go-to one. This is the one that I use more often than not. So it kind of like the 12-week program encompasses a couple different things. One, being able to really look at where you're currently at right now. We call that the 360 assessment tool. Then 2 is being able to learn the skills through a virtual sessions, okay? And that's that's 6 weeks kind of incorporated in here. So you're learning, and some of it's video-based and very situational learning. So you can see here that the gentleman on the screen, there are some active videos in there that provide scenarios. So when you actually like click on the scenario and listen to it, and then you respond to it back as a leader. So it provides really powerful practice to be able to do that. And then, of course, coaching feedback happens as well as AI capabilities. So after you respond to one of the video scenarios that's built into the virtual sessions, AI shows up immediately to be able to say, how did you do overall? How was your delivery? How was your clarity? Did you use a lot of filler words? Were you speaking, too slow or too fast? It provides the transcript to be able to help you see how you responded and where you used the key words. And then, Bobby, what else do you want to share in this piece here?
Um, I think the important thing is that we're teaching really practical tools for business leaders. And this crosses over to your personal life. So this particular tool that you practice in this AI session is called VEF, Voice Empathy Feedback. And it's really about building your self-confidence. So we want to teach you, and Bonnie will be teaching you this tool, and then you get a chance to really show or demonstrate that you've learned it in a non-threatening environment. So then when you really need it, which we can guarantee you, someone's going to, within a day, a week, they'll come to you with an emotional problem and you have to respond. You already have practiced it. So the self-confidence, that's what we really hear over and over again from people that go through this particular program is self-confidence really increases with these tools and concepts of emotional intelligence. And they are so practical. I mean, we do feedback scores, and the on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being high, we're at like a 4.89 on does this impact my profession or my personal life? So that's what I think is so cool to remember about this is that we're all about practice so you are more self-confident as a leader when you really have to show up when someone brings you a challenge or problem.
Oh my God, that's so true. And it is, you guys, it's very easy. So understanding the learning pieces of this program is easy. Applying it is sometimes where we get challenged, which is why the interactive piece of this is so valuable here. So over the course, I'm just giving you kind of the scope of the 12-week program. And in week one, it's really about kind of assessing the 360 assessment and coaching tool. And then we'll provide you coaching on that. Weeks 1, 3, and 5, there's a group interactive sessions to be able to take the learning a little bit deeper in an on live format. And then weeks 1 through 5 also is the virtual self-paced learning part of the program. Week 6 and 7 is when you get to apply what you've learned, and applying what you've learned is in a very unique way. You're actually going to get on a Zoom session with a improv actor. You'll both have the same scenario set up. You'll both be very aware of what you're stepping into. And then you're going to create a leadership interaction at this time. It's, what, how long do they last, Bobby?
Well, we found on average, they last like 15 minutes. That's a sweet spot of giving constructive feedback in a leadership activity as far as a conversation or communication. On average, it's about 15 minutes. We have seen people go like over 20 minutes, and that's when we're like, okay, land this plane. That's a little too much hard. And then we have seen people finish in like 8 minutes, and we're like, wow,
That's a
okay,
little
that was
edgy.
a little edgy there. So 15 minutes is about the sweet spot.
Yeah. So part of the program is that you're going to be setting up this Zoom call with this improv actor, and this is going to then be measured by this, this rubrics of, how well you did with it. This is a pass or fail opportunity, because what you're getting out of this program is an actual certification through the Southwest Institute of Emotional Intelligence that you are an official EI leader. So you do need to pass this part here. But again, as Bobby had stated, it's it's intimidating sometimes to be able to do these processes, but it's very non-threatening because you get to practice them in this particular space. And then of course, weeks 8 through 12 is all about implementing these things through some one-on-one coaching with me. And we're going to bring these scenarios to life. So you bring that scenario to our coaching session. So if it's like, my staff is, I always have somebody that's late. How do I have that conversation? We're going to take this VEF tool. We're going to put it live and in action so that you're confident on how to be able to start and approach these types of conversations that have empathy and flexibility and adaptability attached to them. So that's what the 12-week program looks like. You can register today. I have it set up as only 2 payments is $9.99. And you guys, what I'm going to tell you is that there are no certification programs out there with this level of training, technology, the AI skills, the one-on-one coaching part of it. There's nothing out there at this price at this time. I know that the price is eventually going to have to go up here, but as kind of an inaugural opportunity, I want to be able to offer it to you guys in a way that for you to take advantage of it and to get the effects and the opportunity to be a certified emotional intelligent leader.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. I'll just add to it. I mean, Bonnie, that you're doing this for the industry is amazing, but the 360 assessment alone is usually the retail for that is $1,000 with coaching just for the 360. So that's included. We also, I have right here, you also get a set of these competency cards with it too, to go, we call them coaching cards. So that's another added value, plus all the value of having the coaching one-on-one from you, Bonnie, is huge. That alone would be another.
It,
I I think it's really a great value and
this is
something that
value.
we hear people take away positive things from this, and they keep coming back. For our other programs, I keep having people sign up and register with us. So I'm just so glad you're bringing it to the salon industry.
I'm grateful that I have something that is so well put together that still speaks to our industry. I have customized a few pieces out of it that Bobby and I have worked on diligently to have it be more in alignment with our industry. So I'm sure you guys will appreciate that as well. But I'm excited to be able to offer this into the industry. And Bobby, I know that these are testimonials that you guys can read here online. But what are people saying? What are people really saying about this being as an effective program?
Yeah, I have had people reach out to me afterward and they remind me of our tools, the Stop, Breathe, Ask, SBA, and the VEF. But just one example, I will tell you, we had a police lieutenant go through our last course, and he completed it. I talked to the chief of police after, and he said, um, he's been with us for like 14 years. And he said, I've been trying to impact him on his leadership style. And he said, and nothing has worked. And this program finally worked. This finally was a game changer for him. And he just reached out to me and he signed up his wife because he wanted her to go through it because he just
Love that.
loved it. And she saw such a change in him that she was like, I have to go through this. And she's a leader in a different industry and she works for an airline. But it's amazing how just something that simple, they've gone through other programs, but it didn't make a difference like this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, guys, we might be talking about business and we might be talking about the salon industry or corporate industry, but the truth is that this type of skill set that you learn will impact your entire life, your relationships with others, your family, your significant others, your children. So all of it applies to being able to just be a more emotionally intelligent person in the end. So I'm going to ask you, how would you, your team, or your business grow if you had the ultimate confidence as a leader? Like, what is it going to take for you to be able to see that the leadership piece is probably the strongest foundation for you to be able to confidently have that success to grow your business to that next level? And I hope that you'll take advantage of one of these two offers. Again, I'm going to pop an email to you so that you'll have the links following this session with us today. And then I'd like to be able to open it up if there's anybody that has any questions at this point in regards to anything we've shared or the program itself before we wrap it up, because I can see we're just a few minutes over time here. Questions? I'll just give you guys a minute to be able to see if there's any questions here. If not, you guys can find me. You can get more information about this. You can email me directly at bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. You can set up a free strategy session with me to be able to get more information, dive a little bit deeper. And of course, you can follow me on social media at Bonnie Bonadeo. Thank you, John. He said there's a wonderful class. Thanks, as always, for sharing this good stuff. I appreciate you showing up today. And look forward to seeing you very soon. Bobby, anything you want to close us out with?
I just want to thank all of you for just taking the time to participate in this and become a little bit more self-aware and learn a few tools and concepts that we were able to share with you today. I encourage you to continue the journey. That's what I would
Continue the
say.
journey. So we've got the the leadership challenge coming up in July. Of course, you can sign up for the ultimate leaders course at any time. And if you have questions again directly to that, you can just send me a quick message. I'm happy to answer those offline as well. So thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to being able to support and guide you as the ultimate leader. Bobby, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Bonnie. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.